Hey everyone. I apologize for not getting on until now. I was up early enough to do this. However, my littles came about 15 minutes earlier than what I was prepared for. And so I was planning on getting ready and having everything done and this being the last thing I was going to do before they showed up to hang out for the day. And they got dropped off 15 minutes earlier than what I was, I guess, planning on. So this is the first time that, I wonder if this is going to make a difference. It looks like you can still hear me. We'll see if it works this way because I have this thing in my ear and I think that that's what the sound is going through. Um, anyway, so this is the first time that I'm getting the chance to not have any background noise. It would have been different if I had my regular little guy, but I also had his older sister. And so she didn't nap when he did, which meant that I was crafting most of the day today, which was great. So anyway, we are on day one of our new devotional, Fasting and Feasting by Aaron Davis. And like I said yesterday, after I post this video, again, if you're watching on Facebook, it'll happen pretty quickly after. I am still figuring out how to do posts with pictures and stuff on YouTube. I think there's a way to do it, but I'm pretty sure I have to do it through the computer, which is a little bit harder than just snapping a picture on my phone and, posting it. Still trying to figure that one out. All of these things are probably not as difficult as what they feel like, but it's making me feel like an old woman in the sense of where I'm like, I have to Google everything because I can't figure this out on my own. So, I am working on getting it taken care of and figured out. So yes, that will be taken care of. But for now, we're going to read through this. And if you're on Facebook, the pictures will be posted after the fact in the comment section. There's questions that you answer at the end. So again, if you're going to get the book for yourself and you get it new, this one has writing in it. But if you get it new, then you'll be able to just do that right away. If you're just doing it this way and only seeing the questions posted here, you just need a notebook so you're able to answer them. So in saying all of that, this is much easier to do downstairs when I had my thing to hold my phone, but I don't have that. So ready. Day one, fasting, this kind. And when he had come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, why would he not cast it out? Or why could we not cast it out? So he said to them, this kind can come out by nothing but prayer and fasting. Mark 9, verse 28 and 29. My life has been changed by a footnote. Mark 9 focuses on an uncomfortable story about a daddy and his demon-possessed boy. Scratch that. Switching hands here. The real focus of this passage, of every passage, is Jesus. This account puts his unmatched power over the things that torment us on full display. So the next thing it says is to read Mark 9, verses 14 through 29. Well, we can do that real quick. Sorry. Like I said, this is the first time I'm reading this, so give me 2 seconds here to get this pulled up. My bad for not having that prepared. I literally wanted to wait and I didn't want to read ahead. So, I'm doing all of this at the same time that you guys are. And let me look at that scripture again. Mark 9, 14 through 29. Okay, here we go. Let me get this pulled up. Pulled up. Mark 9, 14. Let me get down to it. Here we go. Now, when they came down the mountain to the other 9 disciples, they noticed a large crowd of people gathered around them, with the religious scholars arguing with them. The crowd was astonished to see Jesus himself walking toward them, so they immediately ran to welcome him. What are you arguing about with the religious scholars? He asked them. A man spoke up out of the crowd. Teacher, he said, I have a son possessed by a demon that makes him mute. I brought him here to you, Jesus. Whenever the demon takes control of him, it knocks him down, and he foams at the mouth and gnashes his teeth, and his body becomes stiff as a board. I brought him to your disciples, hoping they could deliver him, but they were not able to do it. Jesus said to the crowd, why are you such a faithless people? How much longer must I remain with you and put up with your unbelief? Now bring the boy to me. So they brought him to Jesus. As soon as the demon saw him, it threw the boy into convulsions. He fell to the ground, rolling around and foaming at the mouth. Jesus turned to the father and asked, "How long has your son been tormented like this?" "Since childhood," he replied. "It tries over and over to kill him by throwing him into fire or into the water. But please, if you're able to do something, anything, have compassion on us and help us." Jesus said to him, "What do you mean, if? If you are able to believe, all things are possible to the believer." When he heard this, the boy's father cried out with tears, saying, "I do believe, Lord, help my little faith." Now when Jesus saw that the crowd was quickly growing larger, he commanded the demon, saying, "Deaf and mute spirit, I command you to come out of him and never enter him again." The demon shrieked and threw the boy into terrible seizures and finally came out of him. As the boy lay there looking like a corpse, everyone thought he was dead. But Jesus stooped down, gently took his hand and raised him up to his feet, and he stood there completely set free. Afterwards, when Jesus arrived at the house, his disciples asked him in private, "Why couldn't we cast out the demon?" He answered them, "This type of powerful spirit can only be cast out by fasting and prayer." Did I read too far? Oh no, I lost my place in the book. Just please pause. I'm getting there. Nope, that was right. I read as far. Okay, here we go. As remarkable as these events are, if you're familiar with the Gospels, you know they're not exactly outliers. The Bible records so many examples of Jesus healing the sick, driving out the demonic, and even more than once raising the dead. Maybe that's why this particular miracle didn't arrest my heart until my eyes drifted to the footnotes. Scan the footnotes of Mark 9 for yourself. In reference to verse 29, do you find a notation that adds "and fasting"? Hold on just one moment. Some older translations of Scripture leave these two vital words in the text, while the rest relegate Christ's mention of fasting to an afterthought at the bottom of the page. For the sake of time, I won't pull on the thread that unravels the why, but I will focus on what matters most. We all have a this kind. The boy in this passage was controlled by a dark spirit that responded to prayer and fasting and nothing else. Not fretting, not begging, not bargaining. No, Jesus was clear. This kind can come out by nothing but prayer and fasting. Today, as we sit with our Bibles open, I wonder what this kinds you face. Is it a broken relationship that cannot be made right by your best efforts and deepest longings? A bruise on your heart that stays tender no matter how much time goes by? A pattern of sin you cannot break? A root of bitterness you cannot wrench free from the soil? A need you cannot meet? An enemy you cannot defeat? Let's pause together for a moment and ask the Lord, what are we most desperate to see driven out of our lives? With your this kind in mind, take a second look at Mark 9. When they came to the disciples, they saw a large crowd around them and scribes disputing with them. When the whole crowd saw him, they were amazed and ran to greet him. He asked them, "What are you arguing with them about?" Someone from the crowd answered him, "Teacher, I brought my son to you. He has a spirit that makes him unable to speak. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him down and he foams at the mouth, grinds his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive it out, but they couldn't." Our attention is naturally drawn to the description of the boy convulsing. But look past the drama of his condition and the crowd that clamored for a miracle. Find the disciples. Can't you picture them standing sheepishly in the middle of the melee? Can't you see their eyes drop to their sandals as Jesus declared, "You unbelieving generation, how long will I be with you? How long must I put up with you?" Can't you almost hear him sigh as he said, "Bring him to me"? Why was Jesus so uncharacteristically exasperated? Surely he was not mad at the boy who had been possessed since childhood, or the dad who tenderly whimpered, "I do believe, help my unbelief." Could it be that his disciples had tried to solve this problem in their own strength? That they'd looked for a quick solution that allowed them to bypass admitting their desperate need for his help? Sin has put every one of us on an uphill battle with pride. Prayer is not our default. We are ever grasping for bootstraps to pull ourselves up by, solutions dependent on our elbow grease, or effortless ways out of trouble. Yet the this kinds remain. Fasting is not just one more way we can wiggle our way out of the trials that constrict us. God is far too good and too sovereign to be controlled. Fasting is a step of surrender, a way to showcase that this kinds in our life are beyond us. It's an outward expression of our inner desire to see God do what we cannot. Fasting throws our hands and our eyes up to the Lord as if to say, "I am powerless here, but you are able. You are God. I cannot move another step in this thing without you." Do you identify with the tired father today? Are you worn out from trying to solve your biggest problems in your own strength? Consider this. Have prayer and fasting been your first and most often deployed weapon, or are they relegated to the footnotes of your life? Good questions. maybe you see yourself in the disciples. You've rubbed plenty of elbow grease into an area of woundedness or weakness only to find it still festering. Do you shake your head and wonder, why couldn't I drive it out? My question remains the same. Have prayer and fasting been your first and most often deployed weapon, or are they relegated to the footnotes of your life? We all have this kinds. This side of heaven we always will, but Jesus will always be able to drive out what we cannot. We fast and pray to let go of our strength and to tap into His. Whew, so good. So, like I said, at the end of each of these chapter days, whatever you want to call it, there are invitations to basically partake and be real and honest and write things down. So this one's called Setting the Table, Inviting the Feast. Use the prayer prompts below to ask the Lord to do an abundant work in your life. Setting the table. Jesus, as I consider your word, the this kinds that come to my mind are, and then it has a space for you to fill that out. Again, I'll be putting this in the comments down below if you're watching on Facebook. Again, still figuring out how to do that on YouTube. Okay, so again, it's two parts. So the first part is setting the table, and then the second part is inviting the feast. Lord, I need you. I cannot fix these things on my own. I acknowledge you as God, as the only one powerful enough to loosen the grip of the strongholds that have overtaken me. Rewrite your list from above using this prompt. Lord, I release my attempts to control blank and ask for your help. Okay? So basically you're going to write these things out, and then afterwards you are going to rewrite them using the prompt. Okay. That is day 1 of our brand new devotional fasting and feasting, 40 devotions to satisfy the hungry heart by Aaron Davis. I will post the questions to answer in your notebook, however it is that you're doing it, down below. Please don't feel like you have to answer the questions in the below comments. That's not why I'm posting them. I'm posting them so that you can see them, so you don't have to like listen to how fast I just read them and dictate it really quick, or like notate it really quick, not dictate it, notate it really quick. So anyway, I'm hoping that I will be back again in the morning for an early morning live with our devotionals. And I am going to start doing my daily check-ins again. So I'll probably be back on here live here in just a little bit for that, to check in with you. I have a meeting at 7 in a couple minutes. So, yeah, I'll check in with you, and we will get caught up, because it has been a hot minute and there's been some crazy stuff that's happened since I checked in with all of you. So anyway, look for the pictures down below from our devotional, and otherwise I will see you later for my check-in.